On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
It's so easy for us to take offense and criticize, but it's impossible for us to be able to take constructive criticism or correction. Especially
why the hell do everybody needs to take constructive criticism?
No, I got issues with
like I wasn't the one doing it. I don't need to take criticism. I wasn't the one doing it. That's dumb.
I ain't even paying attention to what she's talking about right now. Especially when
that's all you take that stick out your ass, okay? I don't really care. I'm just telling you. This is how I feel. You can feel how you feel. Everybody knows that you're this.
But okay, so why do you gotta keep establishing that? If you're the one talking and we know you feel
listen, like I said,
you're not speaking for nobody specifically.
He was rude. Okay, you don't do that. You're not rude to people just to get rude people out. It's ways that you can address it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so you already said that 5 times. Now moving on, like I said,
never said that.
Moving on, like I said.
Welcome to Lapeef, Let's Talk. We appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. We took a little break for the holidays, but we back and we live right now. Our first topic, we're going to talk about the twerking at True Kitchen. We'll play this little skit for you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys seen the video, but for those who haven't seen it, here you go.
I invested a lot of money into buying this building, into developing this concept so black people can have somewhere nice to go to, okay? Somewhere where we can feel good about ourselves as a... Laquan, stop the music, please. Somewhere where our people can feel good about ourselves as a culture, okay? Yeah. No, real talk. And so all this twerking and shit, take it to Prime, take it to Pink, don't bring it here because we're a restaurant. And so beyond that, 75% of my customers are ladies. And I want men to show respect for themselves for how they carry themselves here. So how can I tell the men to respect themselves and you guys are twerking on glass here? If you want to do it, get the fuck out my restaurant. Because I did it for our people and I did it for our culture. So don't do it now. Don't do it again. I don't want to hear it. If you don't like it, get out because I don't need your money. I need to provide something for my people. And don't do it again. Thank you.
All right, so that was the owner is Kelley. He's the owner of True Kitchen and Cocktails in Dallas. First impressions, Nix, when you first saw the video, how did you feel about what he said?
I was like, damn, buddy going off and stuff, man. I feel like as an owner, I didn't like the way it was presented. I know Anton, that's a thing for me. I don't like the way people deliver information. So I think the delivery of the information, it was poor. He could have done it better. I feel like as being an owner, you have to really be able to present yourself to different groups of people. So I felt like that, his approach wasn't. But if you think about the message he was trying to say, after I saw the follow-up footage where I think he released the security tapes or whatever that was, that gave me a little bit more context. Because at first I was like, wow, this is wild. His place is going to be shut down or he's going to lose his customers. Once he came back, I think a few days later with more footage, more evidence and rationale as to why he stated what he stated, I was like, you know what? I respect it. But also sidebar, it's like, bruh, who are you mad at? The women that was twerking or your DJ making sure everybody's teed up at your restaurant? Because honestly, hey, you don't want folks to twerk? Hey, man, you better play some elevator music or some soft jazz. Don't play that here then. Because it's like, hey, something about music that evokes a certain type of energy. If you don't want that type of energy in your spot, don't play that type of music. So if anything, I would have just hollered at the DJ. Because, I don't even know if his message really was received the way it was supposed to because the way he delivered it.
Hey, Nix, you don't think people should have control over themselves when it comes to music?
Yeah, they should have control over themselves. But, these goes back to social norms. I don't think we ever went in a restaurant like there's no dancing in here. I think we all had our moments like, oh, okay, we in our chair or whatever, like, oh, this is my shit. Now, as far as twerking or whatever, like, yeah, that shit wild. But you know what? We live in a wild society right now. Shit that technically we think was a norm is no longer a norm. So it's kind of one of those that, is this, for the masses, is this acceptable behavior? Because you know what, JR? I forget the restaurant, but somebody posted another restaurant where they was playing some music, and guess what? In response, folks was twerking. The motherfucking waitress came up, started making it rain with napkins.
Wow.
To try to poke fun out of this. So the thing is one of those, like, what is proper decorum and compartment if we think about restaurant settings? So, I mean, that's the part where people want to feel free when they go eat. But if this is not what you want, if this was like a pain point for him, he may have to put some signage up and have some disclaimers. Not now, but I think moving forward, if this is the type of restaurant and type of clients and consumers that he wants to enter his space.
Let me ask you this: if it happened in Tao, let's say Tao is playing music like that, do you think people would twerk?
Yeah, they got enough space to operate in.
But you think people would get up and twerk in Tao?
You know how I feel about Tao, man. It's for a different type of audience, man. Like, I still don't feel comfortable with Tao. So the thing is, if I'm at Tao, I don't know if folks gonna be twerking there because it's like you feel like you're not supposed to. But also, the music doesn't really evoke that type of energy either. So going back to the setting itself doesn't really provide that type of space for you to twerk. So I don't even think it would happen, in all honesty. And if it does, I feel like the environment is not the most conducive. I feel like you would look stupid. The thing is, like, even if that table wasn't twerking, nobody in that area, I don't really see from the tapes, they didn't shut it down. Because then it becomes one of those, who's policing that? Did that have to come from the owner, or could it come from somebody at the table next to them? Like, hey, bro, like, man, y'all wow. Like, man, I'm here with my lady. I'm not trying to be in that environment. If anything, folks was like right there with them. If they weren't twerking, they would nod their head. So they enabled this behavior, you know?
Okay. Tawana, first impressions when you saw Kevin Kelley telling his piece at his restaurant.
I think that I agree with a lot of what B Nix just said, because I think that you don't address inappropriate behavior by being unprofessional. It just doesn't really mix when you're in hospitality and your entire industry is built on customer service. I just don't understand why everyone in the restaurant had to get cursed out because of what a few people were doing. Because see, if I'm in a restaurant, I'm super offended if you talking to me like that, and I had absolutely nothing to do with whatever was going on. So I think that the owner really needed to, address the people who were actually at fault. I don't really understand why he needed to get in the middle of the floor, scream to everybody in the restaurant about how he did this for the culture, because nobody cares, actually. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say that I don't support Black businesses and I don't care about Black business. What I'm saying is nobody cares about what you are saying at that moment. I'm there to eat. I'm there to have a good time. I don't want to get cursed out for something that I didn't do. Learn how to address the people who actually were doing whatever they did. It's easy to just go up and say, look, hey, that's inappropriate. Tell your DJ, shut that music off. Hey, I'm sorry, but dancing is not, allowed. That's inappropriate. I actually agree with B Nix in saying, he might need to put up signage. Hey, we do have a DJ, but dancing, is prohibited or whatever, or something, right? Because like when you have a DJ, people naturally want to dance. And this is how.
Yeah, but people don't dance on the furniture holding on to a mirror.
I don't care if they dance on. This is what I'm telling you, is that he should have addressed them. That's what he should have done.
He did, though. That's specifically, he put out a statement that said that he
don't need to address the entire restaurant.
He addressed the entire restaurant. He addressed their group.
He stood in the middle of the floor and cursed everybody else out.
It's so easy to be. People are so easily offended. That is crazy. How if it wasn't for you, why would you be offended?
I don't care. I am in your restaurant and I don't want to hear you cursing. And I don't care what you're saying to other patrons.
But you don't mind them twerking though. You see the double standard? It's like
I didn't say that I didn't mind them twerking, but I know how to behave.
But you didn't say that you did mind them twerking either though. You didn't say you did mind them twerking. You see how that works?
Let me give my piece. I
Go
don't
ahead, get your
think
piece.
that he, as the owner, should have addressed it that way. I think it was unprofessional. I think that the customer service sucks. I think that for the most part, those people who did what they did should have been the ones addressed, and everyone else should have been left out of it. And I would have personally been offended if I was in a restaurant and heard an owner talking to the entire restaurant that way. I would have probably got up and left, actually, after somebody said something like that. That is something that I don't tolerate.
But then again, you still didn't say that you would be offended by somebody twerking on furniture in a professional setting like that. Like that's just funny to me how we address the yang, but we never address the yin. We always address the person, the result, but we never address the primary.
But that's why you have your moment, so you can talk about what
I'm talking about it right now. After you got done, I started talking about it.
Okay, but I wasn't done. You interrupted me, and I was trying to say what my reaction was. But that's why you have your segment, to say what you feel and what your reaction is. I really could care less how you feel. I feel that the owner was inappropriate, period. Like, those people should have been kicked out, and he should have addressed it with them. And that's it. I don't need to hear how you address your patrons, and I really don't care how you address your patrons. That's not my business. I'm there to eat and have a good time. Don't ruin my experience because of these small bunch of people. So that's my perception.
Anton, when you first heard Kelley's response to the people twerking in his restaurant, what were your first impressions?
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Oh, okay. So again, she may not care, Tawana specifically may not care about what I think, but I care about what she thinks, because when she speaks from the perspective of something that I see as commonplace in a lot of different people's opinions. And it gets magnified on social media and throughout all of these different platforms. And then people feel justified in the way in which they believe. So I do care, maybe not necessarily about her specifically, but about the thing that she says. It is a representation of a lot of different perspectives that I feel like is completely wrong. And people always want to hold the person's feet to the fire that reacted to the bad behavior, but you never see people actually address bad behavior within our culture. And then they want to say, oh, okay, well, I'm for the culture, or I'm for this, or I'm for that. Then how come we never truly dive into the things that's really hurting us and creating this narrative in which we have to subject ourselves to things that's less than what we supposed to put up? How can you be offended by somebody addressing a group of people that may not necessarily even be pertaining to you unless you're a part of that group of people, but you can't be offended by somebody that stands on the furniture in your presence and don't even have the respect for you to be able to allow you to eat your food in a great setting in which you're spending your own hard-earned dollars, but you have a disdain for how somebody addressed that person that was doing the bad behavior? It's so backwards. It's such a horrible perspective in which we allow ourselves to be subjected to. And that's why you always gonna see people continuing to be reactive instead of proactive. You always gonna see people getting mad instead of addressing the issue, so that the issue is never presenting itself in the first place. That's why our culture is so messed up.
Well, I think, Anton, it becomes one of those, like, what is acceptable behavior? Because, I mean, the thing is, people, going back to the issue at hand, the root cause of this is the dancing, right? But the thing is, people are more concerned, and I mentioned, like, I don't have anything wrong with the content that he delivered. I had an issue with the way it was presented. But the thing is, people are conflating the two. Like, are you more mad about what he said or how he said it because he cussed or whatever? Or the fact is that these women were twerking? Because the thing is, that gets lost in the translation. Like, hey, is it or is it not acceptable to twerk in a public place, like a restaurant? There is no rule book to this. There is no signage that says no smoking, no guns, no twerking.
You know, in some restaurants, you can do both, you know, and so that's the problem. Because I've been to a Harold's Chicken where they had a DJ and, you know, people was kicking it in there, you know, but the one in Atlanta is totally different than, you know, the one here in Chicago, because people don't twerk in there. You know,
I just
so
look
it's
at it
like,
like, hey, not at his restaurant, which I get it. I
it's
respect
good.
it. The only thing is, I would say to Anton's point earlier, where the thing is, based on the footage, the follow-up footage, he did have a conversation with them. So the thing is, by the
You had a
time
conversation with
that
who?
he
With
did
the
kind of have
patrons.
this blow up, it was just to the masses. But the thing is, he had came to their table a couple of times, be like, hey, you know, easy or whatever. Because we didn't have the audio, but we just had the visual. So it shows like a couple of times where he did come to the
He
table.
tried to tell them to stop.
Hey, they weren't trying to hear it. But the thing is, like, I don't know if his blow up went to deaf ears, because I almost want to say, like, when he said for the culture, he didn't sound like he was of the culture. So it was one of those, like, hey, it was like, it didn't come off the way, like, I don't know.
I don't need no
outcome that he wanted from that. Like, he was just, he was frustrated. He stormed off. If he was really about that smoke, then you know what? I would have stood there and said, like, all right, now y'all got to leave. Boom, here go y'all receipt.
I would have escorted them out. I wouldn't. That would have been my example.
He didn't. You think about it.
That
Based on
my
the
example.
we have, Buddy said his piece, then he stormed off. You know.
That's what exactly. I would have said, hey, you guys have to leave. They clearly don't have boundaries and they're not respecting the rules. And that would have been my example. And everybody would have saw that these people had to leave because they were doing this, and this, and that's
so that's the thing. I don't even know if they. So the thing is also, so to me, it's another aspect. The root cause was them dancing. So the thing is that prompted then the response from the owner. But I still want to say, like, hey, if I am a patron at that restaurant, do I say something? Do I not? Was it acceptable? And that would be something I would be curious to know. The people in the restaurant in that space, they were sharing the same space, listening to the same songs. Was this an issue for them?
I mean, do you really address strangers in an establishment that's not yours? No.
You know what? I have became that person. If it's something that I just flat out disagree with, that I can't rock with, nah. I can't, and it hasn't been in a restaurant, but in public settings. Yeah. I have.
I mean, I've had complaints about people, but I never went to them directly. I've always went to the establishment and said, hey, look, this person is doing, mostly in the movie.
Now, you know what? I've gotten to the point where I'm going to come directly to you. I need to go to the source. Me telling the person or the supervisor, whatever, I don't need a filtered down version or a softened version of what, like, and I'm more so not talking about restaurants, but public places. I give an example. So this is when I used to be on the train. I was on the train early in the morning, like 7:30, whatever. Hey, one of these high school students flamed up and stuff, right? On the train, right? So the thing is, nobody said nothing. So then it become one of those, what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait till I get off the train to talk to the conductor and then go to CTA.com to then enter my complaint. No, hey, I'm tackling this head on. But the thing is, what was crazy, we on the car, rush hour, 8:30 in the morning. It's about at least, I want to say about 50 people on this car. No one said a word. Yeah. And I was like, man, for one, hey, this is, and the thing is, it said no smoking cigarettes. The thing is, it didn't say no smoking weed, but it's like, I'm not trying to smell like that. I'm on my way to work. I'm listening to my little audio books in my ear. And it's like, man, bro, this ain't it. This ain't.
So how did that end for you? I mean, like, what happened?
Well, what I did, I told him, like, you know how, like, hey, bro, hey, I need to holler at you, bro. Hey, we can't do that here. I get what you're trying to do. You're with your lady or whatever. But, like, man, y'all got to wait till y'all get off the train for that, man. Ain't none of that up in here. And the thing is, I text Toya and I said, like, hey, man, it might be over for me.
Just like that.
Because we live in that society. Like, folks will be ready to kirk out on you in a minute.
Like Chicago is.
After I said it, I was like, I texted like, I'm sorry, babe, what I just did. It might go down today. Buddy may just come at my ass as soon as we get off of the stop. But nonetheless, I have to say it. So I have to stand on how I feel. And the thing is, I didn't used to be that person, but I got to that point as we've all evolved and gotten older, where it's like, I know who I am. I know what I represent. And if this is what I represent, like the owner, he stood on it. So I appreciate the fact that he stood on how he felt. I dislike the approach and the tone.
Me too.
But I love the content. But if anything, moving forward, Buddy just need to put a sign up, man. Put it in writing.
Hey, Nix, I don't agree with that, because why should you have to put a sign up? If you in Roof and Chris, if you in other steakhouses, I don't feel like
that's a steakhouse.
What, Roof and Chris?
No. The Kelley.
No, it's not. It's not a steakhouse, but it.
Right, but you're comparing it to like high-end restaurants, and it looked like a kind of a.
But I don't feel like.
I'm just saying.
I don't feel like people
down,
right. I understand that, but I don't
Isn't
feel like
that a
people.
different
But
atmosphere?
just because it's a black restaurant, I don't feel like people should automatically.
I don't
think
care if it's a black
it's
restaurant.
okay.
It could be
I
a
don't think
white
that's the
restaurant.
case.
But
No,
if
that's
this
not
is
true. No,
acceptable,
hold on, B Nix. Hold on, B Nix. Because we've seen countless examples over the summer where they will put up signs, and because it's a white establishment, they'll say, "Oh man, they're discriminating because why are they putting no backwards caps, or why are they putting no saggy jeans, or why are they putting like it was restaurants in my city, in my personal neighborhood, that they were addressing like, oh, that's racist because they put that up and it's owned by a white, you know what I'm saying, by a white guy." And then it's always a double standard, man. We can't never abide by.
That's why I feel you got to put it right.
Basic
Same
principles.
thing, we see it in establishments about cell phone usage, right? Where the thing is like, hey, no cell phones, one ordering or wherever you're at. So the thing is, if that's a thing for the owner, guess what? Put up a fucking sign. Until you,
My point,
and you know what? They put the signs up because they've had multiple incidents.
yeah. So,
but wait.
Frustrating.
But hold on. But JR got a point, because why do I have to put up a sign that you should not be standing on the furniture, fam?
set expectations.
So I got to put up a sign you can't stand on furniture?
Because it
That's a
happens.
home training right there.
It's not. If it's not, it's
It's
just
a restaurant,
same
it's not a
thing-
club.
Same thing with the concealment.
Why
carry.
would you not tell those people to leave? Why are they still in the restaurant?
As an owner, you have the
Why
discretion
did you not
to
ask
set
them to
expectations of what you want and what you don't want in your restaurant. Same thing with conceal and carry. Guess what? Some places, yeah, you can bring your weapon in. Others, we don't do that here. So I hate to put in that same category, but guess what? You put up a sign if there's something that, in order to set the expectation. Right now, that's why I'm saying that we're at a point where there's no rules saying that someone can't twerk. Because then now, where do we draw the line? You could dance in your seat, but you can't dance standing up. It's like, come on.
No, B Nick, stop.
It's the truth,
There's
though.
no place, no restaurant in America where you should be standing on couches, fam. They don't even let you do that in the strip club. Come on, man. That's unreasonable, bro.
I don't know, depending
You
on what
being
strip club.
unreasonable.
I didn't really see the girls and how they danced.
He put up a whole post and a letter on his Facebook page and said, yo, I had talked to them multiple times. I asked them not to stand on the furniture and twerk with their hands on the glass. Like, come on, man.
But
like,
hey,
we can't come to a basic understanding that you got to have home training before you come out the house.
I would have asked them to leave.
The thing is, and we don't know what happened, but the outcome of this, did he escort them out? If you felt that strongly about it,
I would have.
I don't think he wanted to take it to the extreme. I just think that he wanted
Hey,
to get his
you
point
already
across
took
to
it to
get him
the
an
Curse
opportunity.
them out, but you don't want to escort them out.
Yeah, curse
and
him
now
out.
it's
I
like,
mean,
if I'm on the other side of the restaurant and I didn't know what was going on, it's like, who's Buddy talking to?
He cannot talk to no people like
Let me help you to understand something.
He just can't.
Let me help you to understand something. As a former restaurant owner, the customer is
You
not always right.
own some shit.
Hold on.
God
Because
damn,
I'm saying it because I'm speaking from I'm speaking
all these things in the world.
Because I'm not speaking from the perspective of a person that's just having an opinion. I'm speaking from the perspective of a person that's dealt with people on a regular basis that feel like they right just because they customers, and the customer is not always right. You have to have some level of respect for everybody. I don't care if they serving you. I don't care if they taking out the garbage. I don't care if they're a restaurant. I don't care what they are. You cannot just do what you want because you got money. We talk about people that got money all the time and say they're not better than you. They're not better than this. They're not better than that. Why do we have to? So do we have to put up a sign and say, yo, you shouldn't spit on people either? How many signs do we have to put up before people start doing what they're supposed to do? Or do we? I mean, come on, man. Like, it's unreasonable for us to not address this accordingly and say, yo, you shouldn't be standing on people's furniture.
Okay. Let's say this happens again, right? Let's say, like, not them, but we live in a copycat society where somebody gonna come back in like, yeah, this is the restaurant. Hey, I'm about to twerk too. What should happen? Like, let's go through the rotation of example A, should they then not be allowed into the establishment?
How
B,
do you address
should they
it?
be escorted out? C, should they just not have a DJ anymore? Like, what are the options? Because now I would like to then take to task this owner as to what happens next. That's the thing. We always look at it. What's the outcome? of all of this, right? We're talking about it, but what is the true outcome? In order to set expectations, I personally feel you need to put it in writing. In life, if you don't put it in writing, it doesn't happen. It's not real. So we could talk about concepts, and now it gets to the point when people talk loud in restaurants, right? Then you're gonna be like, oh, well, you're a little too loud, according to whose standard, right? Based on how the owner feels or how the person next to me feels, and we've seen it. I've been the loud person. So the thing is, it's one of those, is there a rule saying you got to keep
I've been asked
a certain
to be
decibel?
quiet in restaurants.
But you know what, though?
My
But you know
table
what,
have been
though?
asked to be quiet in
You know
restaurants.
what the ironic part about this whole conversation is? Then we'll complain that there's not enough Black restaurants for us to patronize. There's not enough places for us to go. It's the whole one of the main reasons why I got out of the restaurant business in the first place, because I opened my restaurant specifically in an area that I felt like was underserved, that people deserved better. And then when I came in, the people was treating it like it was some trash down the street when I had put my hard-earned dollars and effort into it, and I would make sure that the customer service was above and beyond anything that they were used to experiencing in that area. And so I was like, yo, I don't need y'all. I don't need this. Like, I did this for y'all. I didn't entirely do it.
We're talking about social norms.
But my point becomes, you can't complain about the other side of it when you don't have establishments to go to. When the establishments that we do go to, we treat like trash, and we treat it worse than other restaurants from people that don't even look like us. It's unfortunate that we have this narrative and this mindset that we're going to treat this less than and then hold him to a higher standard, whereas we don't do that with stuff where people don't look like us. It's so unfortunate, and I think that that's the bigger issue and the bigger problem that people are not having a conversation about as it relates to this specific issue and this specific thing.
I don't know, but the thing is, so it becomes one of those, like, it's hard for me to say that this is like a black and brown and white issue, because the thing is, for one, it's a black owner, it was a black owner, it was black people. So the thing is, it's like, okay, this is a black person addressing other black people about what we may deem as black activities. The thing is, it's like, hey, it is what it is. The same thing when going back to still restaurants, we seen it with buffets and shit, right? Whole Foods even, where folks would then, you get a sample, people actually dip and then eat out of that. Those are things you like. They should just know. We know that people have egregious behavior. So the thing is, it does need to be addressed. I'm not saying that it shouldn't, but for me, I always feel you need to put the shit in writing. Same thing when you have people eat out of the tray at the buffet. Like, hey, you know what? You get a spatula. You don't just put your hand in the food. Same thing with all type of decorum with restaurants. If you are working in an area where, sometimes, I know y'all gonna clown me for this, but I feel some people just don't know what they don't know. Because the thing is, this shit that I don't know. I have to learn that shit. So
you don't know that you don't.
Sam, you don't why he had to get.
Some people don't know. Some people don't know.
So you assume everybody
that's
knows.
Why he gave them a lesson.
Decorum.
Listen, if I'm in your restaurant and I didn't twerk, I don't want to hear that. I don't need you to stand in the middle of the floor and address me.
What should he have done?
That's all I don't care about nothing else.
To escort him, because then it's like,
I think the security should have escorted her out. The whole table.
So Anton, give me this. So what would let's say your whatever buddy's name is, what would have been
most high-end restaurants? Most high-end restaurants don't even have security. They don't have that type of people. We didn't used to have security at Walmart. That's patronizing.
But guess what we do now?
Oh my God! You know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when people have really bad kids in school, and the kid go in and terrorize everybody. And then the teacher addressed the kid and cussed the kid out and give him a real life lesson that his daddy probably should have told him way before he got to the school. And then everybody gets mad at the teacher instead of getting mad at the parents sending their kid to school so that the teachers can be glorified babysitters. It's so unfortunate that we think this way.
It's the world we live in. It's just like being in school where you got metal detectors. People about that saying you shouldn't have metal detectors in a school setting, but this is the world that we live in, man. People still like there's a reality to this.
I work in an industry where people curse you out constantly sometimes, but the way I respond is not the way that they are coming at me. I always make sure I am politically correct in my responses. I give them customer service and I remain professional. I do not talk to my customers like that. And I would fire someone who did that.
Can I be on the spot? The thing is, I want to be clear. I am not against what he said. So going back to the content itself, yeah, hold people accountable. It's his restaurant. My issue is that, you know what? It's a different approach. I get that was his second time around or whatever like that. But the thing is, hey, you know what? It's almost like getting blamed when it's not your fault. That's the part that now for the people who were not twerking because of the language or the tone that was used,
that's the part I don't like.
Turn off to those people. So that's what I'm saying.
That's the part I don't like.
The thing is, hey, is he right to cuss his own restaurant? Somebody gonna say like, well,
hey, that's the part. She don't like that part. She don't mind the part of her twerking on the furniture though. That was cool.
Well, what do you do? I mean, if not security, because somebody gonna say like, well,
I don't really understand.
It's a restaurant. Then that's
who
why
said that,
cops, right?
I never once said it was okay for them to twerk on the.
If he had called the cops, then it would have been like, oh, buddy snitch, buddy calling the cops on me twerking. You know what? Like the thing is, I want everybody to understand. Let's say it was one of us. When whatever buddy name, what is buddy name, JR?
Kelley.
Whatever the fuck. Like whatever his name is. Like imagine. How would any one of us have handled that situation? You came to the table twice. They proceeded to twerk. At that moment,
escort them out.
What is your menu of options on how you would have addressed the situation?
They must leave.
I'm gonna ask you,
leave the establishment.
I'm gonna ask you, Anton, at that moment, and I know you probably texting or some shit right now, or
no, I'm just replying. I'm just replying to people in the group.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't. I'm not good at multitasking, but nonetheless.
Well, before you get this response, like, let me be clear that I never said that twerking was acceptable. So Anton is misquoting me. What I said was that I do not need to be addressed if I wasn't the person engaging in that behavior. And I 100%.
Why do you automatically assume he was addressing you instead of addressing
you? Hey man, I don't even know what
addressing the entire restaurant.
Right
that was unnecessary.
Can we just stay present right here?
I don't need to. Right.
Hey man, I can't. Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't comment like while talking. It just my brain ain't wired that way. But nonetheless,
it's silly.
Anton, can you answer that question that Nick said? He said,
"What's the question?
How would you have handled the situation? Just to make it plain, like what is the approved or recommended response to the situation?
Me being who I am today, I would have handled it exactly how he handled it. I would have. Which is the first thing that he did was he privately addressed them, and nobody wants to acknowledge that. They just want to go straight to whatever it is that was the highlighted thing. But he did. He privately addressed them and asked them to, stop doing certain behaviors, which in turn, they eventually stood on the furniture and started twerking. So I would have addressed it the exact same way. And I believe that the patrons that I would want to be a part of my establishment is the people that get it. It's the people that understand that, I don't want to go to a restaurant and have people twerking on a furniture, because I would have been more offended at that type of establishment and that type of behavior being permitted than I would of somebody addressing bad behavior and creating an environment that I feel like is conducive to where I want to go and spend my dollars. I want to be in a place that's classy, that people understand that you're supposed to act a certain type of way. And usually, by default, I try to stay away from places where the ghetto just gets out of control. I try to stay away from that type of environment. And so I would appreciate it. And as a result, I would have operated probably the exact same way. I probably wouldn't even have been as nice as him. So
I don't know. Even though we didn't see the footage, I wanted the outcome. Because the thing is, I know folks talking about like, hey, the cussing, what he said. Like, I want to be clear. The root cause was that they were twerking. We're just talking about like, what's the best approach. I'm not against what he said. I'm against how he said it. And I'm not saying it just because of this. I say that every show.
He met them where they at. He met them where they was. Language.
But do we
met them where they was?
Did they leave? Did they leave after he said that? His mic drop moment?
I don't know.
For all I know, he walked the fuck off. They probably still sat up there, twerk, finish their meal, talk.
But
shit.
You know what?
But you know what though?
I'm looking at these comments. I'm looking at these comments right in the Facebook group. And Janelle, for example, said, we can't ask for protection if we can't take correction, which is exactly what I feel. It's almost like it's so easy for us to take offense and criticize, but it's impossible for us to be able to take constructive criticism or correction, especially
Why the hell
when
do
we
everybody
are,
needs to take
especially-
constructive criticism?
I got issue with
Like
that.
I
especially
wasn't
when-
the one doing it.
I
I
got
don't
issue
need
with
to
that,
take
'cause the thing is,
criticism.
especially-
I wasn't the
especially
one
with-
doing it. That's dumb.
I ain't even paying attention to what she's talking about right now. Especially when
That's all. You take that stick out your ass, okay? I don't really care. I'm just telling you. This is how I feel. You can feel how you feel. Everybody knows that you're this.
But okay, so why do you got to
So
keep
who gives a
establishing
damn?
that? If you the one talking, then we know you feel
Listen,
it.
like
You're not,
I said,
you're not speaking for nobody
okay, the
specifically.
he was rude. Okay, you don't do that. You're not rude to people just to get rude people out. It's ways that you can address it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so you already said
Period.
that 5 times. Now moving on, like
I
said,
never said that.
Hey,
moving
I
on,
don't
like
take
I said,
criticism.
close, man.
Hey,
moving on, like I
hey,
said.
I want to ask you guys this last question. When he said that I don't need your money, do you think he should have said that?
I mean, my only thing is that, like, did that make them stop twerking? Like, I hate to say it goes back to the outcome of this. Like, let's go beyond the semantics. I know that's always been my thing for me as far as appropriate language. But the thing is one of those, let's say, okay, I'm in support of what he said or whatever. Did they stop twerking? Yes or no? That's the thing. I don't care what he said or how he said it at this point. The root cause is the twerking. And my thing is that, hey,
I think they did stop because they didn't want to get kicked out.
how do you saw, is there
Right, we wanna say.
them twerking? I mean, stop twerking. Is there just, we don't know that.
I don't know.
No, we don't know. We don't know, but I'm pretty sure
We're assuming like, oh, he
would have
just
saw a
had this
video
mic
of
drop
it.
moment.
Sure.
They like, shit, girl, he ain't playing. I'm
assuming.
We don't know that.
I'm assuming eventually because it was just kind of
The thing
calm
is,
at that
I truly
point.
feel that I'm cussing right now. I get it, but the thing is, technically, this isn't my, my primary employer. I feel at my primary employer that I'm gonna present things a different way than what I do in this space right now. So for me, that's my personal take is that, yeah, you can still get your message across, but the cussing, that don't scare nobody in that room. It don't scare me.
I don't think he was trying to scare nobody. I think he was just trying to make a point, and I think he made his point. He made the point,
but the thing is, that's my thing. It's kind of like him going to the table, it didn't work. Him doing this kind of a PSA in the middle of the restaurant. We still don't know if that happened. If anything, I just would, if you don't have security, just call the cops or ask them, just leave. Just leave.
He
Like, guess
shouldn't
what?
have to do that. He the owner. He shouldn't have to do that. If
Don't
he don't like
people.
something, he can speak up about it.
Right. I mean, so you can decide whether you're okay with, an owner talking to you like that or not.
I don't know. I think we're missing the point. Like, I mean, I have to stay true.
I don't think he cared if they stayed or not. I think that he just wanted to make his point.
His point. It's about the twerking. That's the root cause. The root cause is not about what he said.
He didn't say anything wrong.
No, I didn't. I said that.
I know you said you just didn't like his delivery, but
oh hell yeah, I had an issue with the delivery.
But that doesn't matter because he didn't say anything wrong.
Companies do this a lot.
You're trying to make it seem like it's wrong or right. The issue is with the twerking, whether twerking is acceptable behavior or not in the restaurant. I think we're getting too caught up into how he said and what he said. I said that, you know what?
You said you didn't like what he said,
but that's not the cause.
But they should have been twerking.
I said that like 5 times, bro.
Okay.
No, they should have been twerking, but
you said they should have been twerking.
They shouldn't have, but. Okay. I mean, if I'm in a restaurant and I'm not twerking, I don't need to hear that.
But my thing, going back to social norms,
they got nothing to do with me.
Let's say that I was at the table. Let's say it was a mixed group. It was dudes and females there, right? And the thing is, we know how we all kind of tee up for different things. The thing is there a rule or policy saying that someone cannot dance? Because then now we get into semantics of saying you could dance here, but you can't twerk. Technically, all of it falls under the same category. And also, we didn't listen to the music. I still feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe you need to address what type of music that you're playing that they're twerking to. We don't
They were standing on the furniture.
What?
Why are you acting crazy, bro?
It's the facts, bro.
It's not a fact.
It's not
I don't care. Hold on. I don't care.
You can't have a different opinion.
I don't care what music is being played. I don't care what the venue is. You don't stand on people's furniture. Come on, man. What we talking about? That's inappropriate.
Okay, well, I get it. This is a one-off. This is not this epidemic of people just twerking on tables, whatever. Hell, it may start a nuance, but at that moment, that's what I go back to. What is the outcome of this? How do you police it, right? Is this acceptable? Because the thing is, I just told you there was and maybe it was to poke fun at this. I wish I had the video, but the thing is, somebody actually had a video of them twerking at a restaurant, and then it was encouraged behavior. So the thing is, you may say like, well, at this restaurant they can, this restaurant they can't. It's just one of those like, hey, It all
With the
depends on what
waitress?
type of audience. Anytime someone goes into business, you already know what type of clientele that you want. Same thing, fucking Jabari with like fashion and shit. There's a certain type of client that you want to buy your product. Same thing with that. If that's not what he wants, he could have simply escorted her out. That's it. End of story. My only thing is that, to me, moving forward, I truly feel that if it's a pain point for you,
Thank you,
put it in
Camille.
writing. Same thing we do with cell phones at certain locations, cigarette smoking, guns, conceal and carry. For certain things as a business owner, for things that I ain't cool with or I'm not cool with, then you put it in writing.
Listen, I don't go to restaurants where they twerk.
That's why people put stuff in writing. So
I don't like it.
Like, the thing is, where do you draw the line at? Like, because the thing is, you think this got so then, it's like every time somebody dance, soon they get up like, oh, nope, you can't do that. Because then it's like, well, you have an issue with them twerking on the table or them twerk with, what if they were twerking standing up, right? Or they were just using the chair and not the furniture. Or they was twerking in their seat. Or let's say they was twerking, waiting in line for their table to get ready.
You know what the beautiful part about the whole situation is? A lot of times people will like to say, well, if you don't like it, start your own. Well, it is his own, and he established what he wanted and how he wanted and how he was going to allow things to happen or not happen, and he addressed it appropriately, in my opinion.
That I'm in agreement with, except the appropriate part. I'm big on the appropriate language.
What's appropriate is what he deemed is appropriate because it's his establishment.
So then it gets back to the twerking is not appropriate. The person is appropriate. The thing is, it can't, like,
you still getting away from the main issue.
No, my main issue was
they dance, they standing on people's furniture, fam.
You better learn how to de-escalate.
It's basic home training. I shouldn't have to put "don't stand on my furniture" in writing.
You know what?
De-escalation techniques. That's important.
We see a lot of things that goes.
You need some customer service skills to be taught to people.
JR, you can handle this, man. I don't know.
I'm done. I'm done, man. I said my piece, and I
think we all got different opinions.
I think we can all agree that when we sit at twerking, we're gonna all have a different opinion about it.
Hey, I bet you this shit happen again.